Welcome my friends to an online battle, the Dark Elves versus the Greenskins. Now you may notice I've blanked out my name. That's because I'm using a different profile to play online these days because I just get recognised too often and I don't want people to have that advantage over me because they know how I play and they know how I roll. So I have a super top secret, super secret profile that I intend to keep super secret, hence the blanking out of the name. Now, this battle honestly isn't going to be the best battle in the world, but it illustrates a few good points about the game and things I just like to talk about. But my army, first of all, is 4 units of Dark Shards that have been upgraded so that they have a lot of melee defense. The idea is that they're going to hold a long time in theory and allow me to do some flanking with all my other units, which is my intention. So I've got 4 units of Dread Spears. They are my front line. I've got a unit of Dark Shards, just the one back here, but they've got shields so they can take on other skirmishers. I've got 1 unit of Dark Riders with shields as well. And then out on the flanks, I've got 1 unit of Repeater Crossbow Dark Shriders. That's right, Shriders on that side. And then the same thing on this side, but I've also coupled these ones with a couple of units of Shades, who are obviously hidden because they have Stalk. So it's going to move up. People are going to move in on them and they're going to think, oh, there's only 1 unit of Dark Riders there. But then there's actually 3 units of missiles there ready to shoot me in the face. So that's a little bit of a surprise plan there. My Lord, actually no, this isn't my Lord. This is just a Black Dragon. I've got 1 extra Black Dragon in all his glory. And then I have my Lord on a Black Dragon. I brought the Sword and Crossbow Dreadlord. So I've got 2 Black Dragons. I do like a good bit of Dragonation. That's a word now. That is my build. My plan here is to move up my Dread Spears as a front line. And then move around with these Repeater Crossbows and these Shades into a very nice missile flanking tactic. And I've got my Dragons there to support and also just to harass that front line and try and do some terror and breath attacks all across the front. My enemy is the Greenskins, and he has hidden away all of his army. Now it's fairly obvious that they were hidden. I couldn't see any of his army at this point apart from those units at the back. I couldn't see any of these 4 or 5 units of Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins. No, they're not Boar Boy Biggins, they're just regular Biggins. Savage Orc Biggins infantry. And then over here he's got 3 units of Biggins, normal Biggins, hidden in the tree. So he's got a lot of anti-large. I'm not sure whether that was his intention or whether he just thought I was going to bring a lot of monsters. In the other trees he's got some Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins and just 1 unit of Savage Orc whatever, Boar Boys. I don't even know anymore, they all sound the same. Then he's got an Orc Chariot and an Orc War Boss on a mount. So that's his army, and like I said, most of it I couldn't see. All the stuff in the trees, couldn't see it at all. I knew it was in there because it was kind of obvious. All I could see was the Chariot and the Lord. So I'm moving up cautiously, trying to check, see what's going on. Oh, I do have a Fire Wizard as well, a Lady Sorcerer on a horse. Going to drop those fire spells occasionally. So I haven't really played the Dark Elves too much, to be honest. I'm a little bit inexperienced with the Dark Elves, but I thought if I'm going to do a Dark Elves guide, I'm going to need to play lots of Dark Elves. I've mostly been playing the Skaven, because A, they're probably my favourite faction on Warhammer 2, and I was doing the guide at the time. So I've been playing a lot of Skaven, now I'm trying to play a lot of Dark Elves. I know the basic idea of how they work, of course, is just getting to that deeper level of understanding for a faction. Sending one of my Black Dragons off to try and scout, find some of these units. He is a glorious unit himself. This, of course, coming after the Mortal Empires update recently, which has got us all the other factions, hence why I'm playing the Greenskins, which I think is pretty awesome. I do enjoy having the extra factions and all the different races going on. Makes it pretty fun. So he's starting to move up now. The big uns are approaching, but I'm still moving forward. Perhaps a little bit too premature. I probably should have stayed a bit more back, because I didn't know what was in the trees. I didn't know what the enemy had until he started popping out, and I just saw lots of big uns. On the left, he's bringing over his Boar Boys. I didn't actually see these at this time. I had no idea they were there until a little bit later. Going to start popping off with the Repeater Crossbows. My Black Dragon just hanging in the trees. And he is ascending on me. I'm going to drop a fire spell here. Now, watch how pathetic this is. So, it's gone through like 2 units pretty well. And it's done absolutely minimal amounts of damage. And they have no armor. Savage Orc Biggins have no armor at all. Yet that spell just barely even singed them. A little bit underpowered perhaps. Or, I don't know. Just a bit silly. On the left here, I meant to send my dragon down to intercept these Boar Boys and then let my Shades open fire on them. But I forgot that my Lord is a crossbow Lord, so when I clicked attack, all he does is shoot at them with his crossbow. So he doesn't actually fly down and get in the way, which was my intention. So my Shades are going to get charged. Going to tie up his Chariot here, he's going to send his Lord in. The front line is getting absolutely destroyed. My Dread Spears are no match for all these Orc savage bastards. Wasn't what I intended to say, but it just came out that way. Here comes the slowest charge ever for some Boar Boys. My Shades are going to put up a reasonable fight. I'm going to get after his Lord a little bit. I figure I need to save my cavalry. They've just routed, but that's fine. So my front line absolutely obliterated by Savage Orcs. they could not stand the test of Savage Orcs at all. Even with their 45 melee defense, I thought they'd last a bit longer. My dragons being chased. Again, this is all big uns, so my dragons can't really stay fighting them too much. Gonna have to play a bit of hit and run with them. He's sending his lord in after my sorcerer. She's gonna rout. I'm gonna send my black dragon in after their lord. But of course that is in a bunch of big uns, but not a lot else for them to do at the moment. My shades on the left have gotten the better of these boar boys with a little help from some cavalry, finally. So we're winning somewhere at least. We just lost everywhere else. Oh, there wasn't really a fight on the right, it was just my repeater crossbows. Dragons are in here though, going a bit mental. There's a nice breath attack, absolutely obliterates many, many orcs. Oh, look at it, look at it. Look at the pile of bloody dead orcs. Beautiful. Well, I generally like the greenskins, so it hurts me a little bit to see it. But when you're against them, I'm glad to see dead orcs, to be honest. Firing into the crowd as well, starting to get some routing going. The terror and fear of the black dragons, of course. Just turn on my health bars a minute. I know people like to see the health bars. There we go. And my black dragons have routed all these big uns in the centre. The fear and terror has overcome all the big uns. Going to try and get his lord a bit now. I think that's about all I have left to do as my infantry has been so thoroughly battered. More of his infantry is getting into my shades. They're not doing too well. They haven't got many kills. Getting charged over here. It's a bit of a mess. My cavalry is surviving alright though. The big uns are of course going to come back. We've got rid of his lord for now, but here come all the big uns. They're angry and they're back. And of course that's the thing about the greenskins. They will keep coming back over and over and over. Going to pull both of my dragons out of there. Don't want to be fighting all those big uns anymore. I've got lots of breath attacks to make use of. My shades are struggling though. My cavalries are struggling. Everyone's starting to struggle. So at this point I've pretty much accepted the loss. I've been beaten here. Honestly, looking at it, I've just been thoroughly destroyed. The matchup was better in his favour. I overestimated Dread Spears. I thought they'd hold a lot longer, but this is why I'm playing them, to try and figure out what they can get away with. I know now that they cannot stand up to Savage Orc big uns. You can see there's lots of greenskins left, and all I've really got is 2 dragons and a little bit of cavalry. But my dragon, one of my dragons is nearly dead as well. He's been fighting those big uns a little bit too long. He's supposed to be running away, but he's just sat there. Don't know what he's doing. Go on. There we go. Finally takes flight. Now, there's a lot of green stuff left. My cavalry here is about the only thing surviving, and that's just wavered. I've got some shades over here still, that's about it. But everything else is pretty much just green everywhere. And all I've got left is 2 dragons and a little bit of cavalry to try and defeat 6 or 7 units of greenskins. So my brother black dragons here, side by side. All I can do at this point is try and launch some breath attacks to try and whittle them down. They always seem to shoot at the edges, the breath attacks. It's a bit weird. I do see a nice target though of clumped up units all here. All in a nice line, ready for a breath attack. Ooh. Disgusting. So I'm just trying to absolutely waste orcs with breath attacks at this point. Trying to reduce their leadership. And this is kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about. Is how often this sort of thing happens in battle. If I was this guy playing me right now, I would be absolutely furious. I hate it when people just hide in the air with their flying units, especially lords. Malekith is one of the worst for it. Malekith, the amount of battles I've lost because of Malekith on a black dragon is ridiculous. Especially with all his spells as well, which make him even stronger, which are probably a bit overpowered. And it's kind of one of those things that, like, it's part of the game, sure, and you can just say, oh, you've got to learn to deal with it, and oh, you should have missiles to take down the dragons, and sure, yeah, that's true, but it's not always that easy, and it's to a degree, it's an exploit, and a lot of people online take advantage of that, and it ruins the online. And personally, I'm not enjoying the online in Warhammer 2 at all. I prefer Warhammer 1, where the magic was kind of less powerful and was more about support than just utter destruction. Anyway, all these big guns are running around because they've got nothing to do, because I'm hiding in the sky like a son of a bitch. I'm going to bring in all my units at once to try and just finish this off as one last push. They're all wavering. A bit of terror from the black dragons. They're not going to last too long. And the white flags be a-raising. So, I've won this one, but it's not a victory I'm proud of. It's not a victory I'm proud of at all, because I just hid in the sky for most of it. The guy defeated my army. In fairness, it's not like he did a lot to defeat my army. He just chose good units. Right? It's not like he tried to flank me or set any traps for me. He pretty much just charged at me and smashed me in the face, which is how the greenskins work, pretty much. You can see my army didn't really do a lot. It was all in the black dragons, his savage orcs, most of their kills coming from those dread spears probably. But what do you think? Do you find certain imbalances in the game annoying? Do they bother you? Do you use them? If so, why do you use them? Other than the obvious fact of you're trying to win. Like I say, I've lost a lot of battles online just to people hiding in the air. I destroy their army with great tactics and outthinking them, and then they just win because they hit in the air and there's nothing I could do about it because all my missile units have been beaten the crap out of. And granted, I just did that exact thing that I'm moaning about. But it's not like that was my intention. I had a plan. I wanted to use the Dread Spears and then flank around with the Shades and stuff, but my plan was thwarted, as they very often are in Total War Warhammer Online, and I had to adapt. Unfortunately, my plan adapted into one that's kind of cheap, and I feel like there should be something to kind of control it in some way, and I know that's kind of silly because, you know, there's always going to be things that are kind of imbalanced, but I know I should probably just shut up and play the game and stop moaning about it, right? But I think it's the whole, coming from previous Total Wars, there's things I miss about the previous Total Wars, like Rome 2, Attila, Shogun. You don't have to worry about flying units. You don't have to worry about magic. It's all straight up infantry and cavalry tactics. It stays tactical. There's no way to really be overpowered unless you bring like 50 elephants or something, or tons of artillery. But for the most part, battles are always pretty fair and more about the tactical prowess of everyone rather than just some overpowered unit that charges through and just destroys everything. And as much as I do obviously enjoy Warhammer, I've made hundreds of videos about it, there are things that really freaking annoy me that they've changed since the old ones, and I just wonder if many people feel the same. I know there are some people, I know there's plenty of historical fans that don't enjoy the fantasy side of things at all, and they obviously want Warhammer to just die. And I have to say, I'm looking forward to the new historical title. I'm very excited for the reasons I just mentioned, to get away from magic and overpowered units to just good old-fashioned, fair combat on the battlefield. Which is one last point I'd like to make, that if you haven't tried any of the previous Total Wars and you're just a Warhammer player, I'd thoroughly recommend that you go and try some of the older ones. Rome 2 especially is probably the best one to go for. It's going to be pretty cheap in sales nowadays because it's really old. Attila's okay, but Rome 2 is better. Shogun's great as well. Shogun's a bit simpler if you want something a bit more simple to get used to historical Total Wars, but if you enjoy the tactical side of Total War, then you probably enjoy some of the historical ones. Anyway, I've been rambling on. Fair play if you've managed to stay through and listen to me this whole time. I've just been moaning about Warhammer, but I just like to air my opinions sometimes. Sometimes in these online battles you get a sweet online battle, but if I can't do that, then I try to talk about some things that are on my mind about the game, and that's what I'm doing. Anyway, what could have changed in the battle? What could have changed for him? Well, he should have brought some freaking missile units. 1 or 2 missile units, maybe even 3. He would have been able to take down my black dragons. He nearly had them dead because he had all big uns, but that was obviously his downfall, that he could do nothing about my dragons, so it's kind of a bad matchup for both of us on one side. On my side, I had nothing to deal with all his Savage Orcs, but on his side, he had nothing to deal with my dragons in the skies, at least, so it kind of fell even in that sort of way, but ultimately, I managed to come victorious. Just. Sort of. Not really. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the future. I'll try and drop some better online battles. I hate dropping these crappy online battles. I feel like I need to drop better ones, but I feel like this battle just dropped a few points that I wanted to mention. What do you like? Do you prefer just exciting, fun, awesome battles, or do you like battles where you can learn something and I can make a point about something, or am I just really annoying? Let me know. See you in the future. Yeah.